facts. First, we find in James 2:8.
If ye fulfill the royal law according to the Scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well.
But to walk in that love, you must at first be keeping that law. Keeping the law of God is actually open evidence that you do love your neighbor. In fact, Jesus summarized the last 6 commandments like this. We find in John 13:34.
A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. As I have loved you, that ye also love one another.
Look at the last 6 commandments and see it is our relationship with each other. To keep those commandments proves you love your neighbor. When you show love to your neighbor, if you steal from him, kill him, covet his wife or his goods, lie about him, etc. So, I agree, the new covenant is indeed based on love. But to truly love each other, we must keep the 10 Commandments. And by the way, this theology runs true with the first 4 commandments as well. How so? First we find in Matthew 22:37-38.
Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment.
Is this something that can be verified as an old covenant promise he desired of us? We find first in Deuteronomy 6:5.
And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
Deuteronomy 11:13.
And it shall come to pass, if ye shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul.
Joshua 22:5.
But take diligent heed to do the commandment and the law which Moses the servant of the Lord charged you, to love the Lord your God, and to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and to cleave unto him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul.
We see in Hebrews 10:16.
This is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them.
Want the entire Decalogue, the 10 Commandments summarized in one New Testament verse? Take a look at Luke 10:27.
And he answering said, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself.
The real definition of love we find in John 14:15.
If ye love me, keep my commandments.
How about in Matthew 22:37-40?
Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Think about how we, as humans, show love to one another by keeping the law of God. Do you show love when you don't honor your mother or father? Do you show love when you kill your fellow man? Do you show love when you commit adultery against your spouse? Do you show love when you steal from your fellow man? Do you show love when you bear false witness against your fellow man? How about, do you show love when you covet your neighbor's wife or anything else that belongs to him? If, as Christians, we realize that in order to show love for our fellow man, you must keep all of the last 6 commandments, can't you not also see, as a Christian, that to show love unto God is to keep the first 4 commandments. If you as a Christian realize that in order to show love for your fellow man, you must keep all of the last 6 commandments that Jesus summarized as the 2nd commandment in Matthew 22:39.
And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Can you not also see, as a Christian, that to show love unto God, it is to keep the first 4 commandments that Jesus summarized in Matthew 22:37 and 38?
Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment.
So I ask you, do you show love for the Lord when you place another God before Him? Do you show love for the Lord when you bow down before an image? Do you show love for the Lord when you take His name in vain? How about, do you really love Him when you break His Sabbath that He specifically said was the 7th day? And He specifically also said to remember it. So do you really love Him? I ask those that break His law knowingly, why is it you can so easily show love for each other, but when you are asked to show love to God, it's impossible? The real Christian will not only keep all 10 of the commandments, but the real Christian will go beyond them because of their love for Jesus. Case in point, Jesus said in Matthew 5:40 and 41,
And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain.
love also gives more than is required, without looking upon it as a burden. We find in 1 John 5:3,
For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
the true Christian will go the extra mile simply because their love compels them to do so. They do so with a joyful heart, a heart that won't grumble while going the extra mile, simply because they feel their fellow man needs them too. And in Christian love, they are compelled to show this love. We should go far beyond that which is written. For example, the law states, Thou shalt not commit adultery. But Jesus illustrates how much more the true Christian love will abound for him and his truth by saying in Matthew 5:28,
But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart.
Jesus shows that the true Christian will go far beyond the written letter of the law. Love will always raise the standard. The Christian not only keeps the 10 Commandments, but he or she will also go so far as to not even think on those things within the heart that are against the law of their God. We do this because we love Him and want to please Him with all our hearts. We don't do this because we don't want to burn in hell. Christianity isn't fire insurance. Thoughts like this don't even come to the mind of the true child of God. It truly is a labor of love.